Hello and welcome to another video. I'm in the woods and I'm having a little look at the mushrooms that are out. We've seen 15 species today, which is fantastic, 11 of which we could identify and 4 of which we couldn't. But this walk has got me thinking about the fact that there's so much information out there, and when I first started foraging I was quite anxious, and I've definitely picked up a couple of tips that I would like to share with you guys, especially for those of you who are watching me. I still class myself as a beginner, so for those of you that are watching me learn to forage, who are maybe still a little bit apprehensive, are not really sure where to start, this video is for you guys. So yeah, here are my top tips that I wish somebody else had told me before I started foraging. So the first thing that I wish somebody had told me before I started foraging was that even if you are 100% sure that you know what a mushroom is and you know that it's definitely edible, do not take it home and eat the whole thing. The best thing to do is to just take a piece of the mushroom, cook it and try it, because some mushrooms, like the shaggy parasol, mushrooms like loads of the funnel caps, the goblet funnel cap, there are so many mushrooms that are classed as edible, but they can actually cause anaphylaxis, adverse reactions, stomach upset in a selection of very, very unfortunate people. So even if you know exactly what it is and you know it's edible and you're confident, don't take it home and eat the whole thing. So just because a mushroom is classified as safe to eat does not necessarily mean that it's safe for you, so be very careful. The second thing that I wish somebody told me before I started is that not all mushrooms have the same cook time. So this mushroom, again, you need to fry this, you need to cook this really well for about 15 minutes, whereas some of the boletus mushrooms you might get away with a 10-minute fry. There are mushrooms that you can dry, and they work best if you dry them and then grind them up and cook them as a stock. So, and obviously there are some mushrooms that you can eat raw. So don't just assume that you can eat all mushrooms raw or that they all need the same cook time. Some mushrooms are done within 10-15 minutes. Some mushrooms need considerably longer. So make sure that you keep that in mind and do your research before you actually put anything in the pot. Another thing to be mindful of is something called bioaccumulation, and this is where mushrooms basically accumulate and concentrate toxins and harmful things from their environment. So while cooking the mushrooms for the correct time is important, you also need to be careful where you're picking them from as well. Another really, really important tip that I wish somebody had told me is that just because the mushrooms are growing in the same place and they're really close together and they look the same, does not necessarily mean that they are the same species. For example, in this hand I have a purple brittlegill, which is classed as an edible species, and in this hand I have a primrose brittlegill, and while they've both got white stems and purple tops, and this one can also get this big, the main difference is this bruising here on the stem. And if I put this one in my mouth, it's peppery but it's not too bad, and if I put this one in my mouth, it's absolutely vile. So just because a mushroom is the same colour and growing in the same proximity does not necessarily mean that it's the same species. While these are both members of the Russula family, they are different species. So make sure that you familiarise yourself with as many different members of each genus as possible, so that when you're actually in the field and you've got a couple close together that look very similar, you're able to distinguish between the two. Another piece of advice that I was told but I didn't really take seriously until I actually started trying to identify mushrooms in the field: do not rely on just one source. So don't just rely on Google, don't just rely on an app, don't just rely on one single foraging book. If you can have an app, Google, and maybe a pocket guide and then a larger book with you, you're more likely to actually get an accurate ID, because honestly, I made that mistake myself. I found a mushroom that I thought was a bluet, and when I actually used one source, it said yes, this is a bluet, and another source said that it was a purple webcap, like a purple type of Cortinarius, which is deadly poisonous. So if I had only gone with the one source and taken it home and eaten it, I probably wouldn't be making this video right now. So just make sure that you have maybe 2 different books with you at least, and use those. If you are going to use apps, I would recommend staying away from the apps, but if you are going to use an app, then I would recommend using like the Wild Food UK, for example, instead of using an app. My friend Danny does have a book. I will leave a link to her channel in the description below. Her book is really, really good. So if you're not sure what book to pick up, then go and check out hers. And while we're on the topic of edibles and poisonous lookalikes, another piece of advice is to please, for every edible mushroom that you learn, try and learn the poisonous lookalike as well. So for example, I've got a mushroom down here. This is the blusher, and this is an edible mushroom. I know it's a blusher because the flesh blushes a pinky colour, and the skirt, which is kind of flaked off now, has striations on it, or lines. The poisonous lookalike to this is the panther cap. You can see this mushroom is not absolutely white. It's got that sort of blushing tinge to it, especially at the base. So make sure that you learn your poisonous lookalikes. Don't just learn a bunch of edibles and then go out and think that you know what you're doing, because you could make a mistake and it could cost you your life. Another huge helpful tip is to learn a couple of different genus of mushrooms. So for example, I know these are amanitas, I know these are russulas, and I know these are Lactarius, and I know this is Cortinarius. So if you learn a couple of distinctive features for each genus of mushroom, even if you just pick 3 to start with, that will really help you with learning your mushrooms and basically separating them into groups, and it will make identification when you get home a lot easier. Also, don't forget to take pictures of your finds. If you're taking pictures of mushrooms so that you can look at them when you get home, make sure that you take pictures really close up of the stem, the cap, the gills. Don't just take a generic, selfie of the mushroom. Take really detailed photos, because they will really help you when you actually go home and you're looking through your books and you're trying to identify what it was that you saw in the woods. It is always recommended that you go out with a professional and you actually take a course before you go out and try to forage yourself. I know that not everybody is able to do that. For some people it's money, some people it's time, some people it's childcare, whatever the reason. I absolutely appreciate that not everybody's able to go out and do a course. I'm very lucky. I've been able to spend some time with my friend who is a professional, and she's been foraging for over 20 years. But my last piece of advice is, just because you've spent some time on a course or you've spent some time with a professional does not necessarily mean that you know what you're doing. I'm still definitely classed as a beginner. I probably know maybe 50 mushrooms at this point. At the time of making this video, I could probably identify 50. And out of all the mushrooms that I found today, we could identify 11 out of 15, which is pretty good. But a professional, every single one, every time. And for those of you that haven't heard of the 10,000 hours rule, there is a theory, I can't remember who created it, but there's a theory that it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. So if you've not been foraging for 1,000 hours, let alone 10,000 hours, do not go out after doing a 2-hour course and think that you know it all, because you can get overconfident and it could cost you your life. But on the topic of that, don't be scared, just be careful, be sensible. Don't eat anything unless you're 100% sure. And even if you are 100% sure, another tip that I wish someone had told me, take your mushrooms home and do a spore print, because the spore print can be a really reliable way to distinguish between species that look very similar, because one species might have a spore print that is brown and one species that looks the same might have a spore print that's green. A really good example of this is the summer bolete versus the penny bun or seps, or boletus edulis versus boletus reticulus, I think. So yeah, two mushrooms, both edible, really easy to mix up, but if you actually take them home and you do a spore print, you'll be able to tell the difference if you can't tell the difference visually. So spore prints are also really, really good. They are your friend, they are a helpful tool. While we're on the topic of not just assuming that you know what you're doing, while it's easy to watch a couple of videos, especially YouTube videos like this one, it's easy to watch people go out foraging, take their advice, and then go out and do it yourself and assume that you know what you're doing. Make sure that you don't use YouTube videos as a replacement for in-person tuition. There are so many other tips that I could give you, but it's really important to remember that I'm still technically a beginner. I'm not a professional, and even if you are watching a professional on YouTube, don't just watch a professional and then assume that you know what you're doing either, because there is no amount of video content can replace that in-person help. And a lot of people are self-taught, a lot of people spend time reading, or they have a foraging friend that they go out with every so often, and that's good, but honestly, don't just rely on videos like this. Make sure that you go out, get your hands dirty, and actually see the mushrooms, the plants, the trees, anything that you're interested in. Go and physically put your hands on it, because that's the best way to learn. A lot of the advice with foraging is just common sense. So yeah, this video was basically dedicated to the things that I wish somebody had told me before I started, which I didn't actually think of until I was out there physically putting my hands on mushrooms and thinking, oh God. So I hope that you guys found this useful. I know that there are some of you out there watching these videos that want to get started but are anxious and don't know where to start. Again, I am not a professional. I still class myself as a beginner. I probably know 50 mushrooms. I think I know more plants than I do mushrooms and trees, but yeah, I'm still a beginner. I've not paid my debt of 10,000 hours of studying yet, so until then I'm not a master. But if you would like the opinion of an expert and you would like some help, make sure that you head over to my friend Danny's channel. That's Danny in the Wild. I'll leave a link to that channel in the description down below. She's also published a book and she's been foraging for over 20 years, so she is a professional. Also, my buddy Joe from the Field Study YouTube channel, he runs courses and he is very, very knowledgeable, fantastic. So I'll also leave a link to his channel down below as well. So while I'm just a beginner and I can give you tips and I can take you on my learning journey, those guys are professionals. So make sure that you book a course with somebody if you're able to. Make sure that you do plenty of reading, and make sure that you go out there and get your hands in the dirt and find your mushrooms. If you made it to the end of this video, then thanks for watching. You're an absolute star. If you like what you see and would like to see more videos from me, or you need any more tips and tricks, whether it's foraging, bushcraft, survival skills, wildcrafting, if there's anything you'd like to see, let me know in the comment section below. But yeah, that's all we've got time for. Got to gather all of these up and take them home to do the spore prints, because I practice what I preach. I'm not going to tell you guys to go home and do spore prints if I ain't doing spore prints myself. And there are a couple of species here that I'm not sure about. So yeah, thanks again for watching. Go out, have some fun, be safe, collect some mushrooms, and I'll see you in the woods.